Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Sure. I am a Brazilian Australian. I was born in Brazil, and I moved to Australia in 2001 to study here, as many people do. And from that point onwards, I fell in love with Australia, and my purpose was always to stay here. I had a young family, and I was a mature age student. And my husband and I worked really hard to embed ourselves in the community here, find jobs, gain our permanent residency, all of which is quite hard to do, to be honest. And we've been here for over 20 years now. A few years ago, just before the pandemic hit, I was made redundant from my corporate role. And I then very quickly realized I didn't want to pursue another opportunity, another job. I had worked up my career sideways to the top, and that is usually a very good strategy for women in the corporate sector. But I was very ready to follow my next step, which I knew eventually I wanted to do, which was to coach other executives, other managers and professionals to have the best careers. And I've been planning and prepping myself to do this for a long time, and I thought it was time to give it a go. And I've been loving it ever since. I have clients all over the world today, and it gives me great joy to help them.
Amazing. And as they say, the rest is history.
As you've heard, the rest is history. I am very, very happy today to be bringing to you a very special person. First of all, this is my 100th episode. Can you believe that? For this year alone, season 4. That's our coach, Renata Bernarde. I'm going to talk about her in just a minute. I'm being reminded to do our moment of gratitude. As is our custom here, every time we meet, we want to be grateful for one thing. So what are you grateful for today? And I think it is so very important for all of us to remember to be grateful every day, no matter what is going on right now. I know there is a government shutdown in the US and a lot of problem around the world, but you can only control what you can control. So what are you grateful for? If you would, put yourself in your happy place, close your eyes, maybe take a deep breath and think about one thing you are grateful for. And I think today I am grateful for networking, for connection. Like I've said many times before, I've never met a stranger in my life. And I am just so glad that I get to meet a lot of people who add value to me, and I try to add value back to them. So if you would please tap into the comment, what is one thing you are grateful for today? All right, so let me introduce our guest today. We are going to be speaking with our coach, Renata Bernarde. As you've heard in the introduction clip, originally from Brazil, now based in Australia. She's an executive coach helping professionals around the world find clarity, confidence, and career direction. As CEO of the General Sir John Monash Foundation, she transformed Australia's leading scholarship program, tripling sponsorship and managing multi-million-dollar endowment. Today, through RenataBernarde.com, she equips professionals to navigate career transition with purpose. Her philosophy: no one is more responsible for your career than you. That's not motivation, that is reality. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please help me welcome Coach Renata Bernarde. Hello, Coach Renata. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. That was such a great introduction. Thank you.
I think I told you in the message, this is going to be the second podcast I'm going to translate in Portuguese because you are originally from Portugal. So I don't know very much about Portuguese, but a little bit. Olá, Coach Renata. Bem-vinda podcast. So very, very welcome. Can you let us know what is one thing you are grateful for today, Coach?
Okay, just a quick correction there, Busy. I'm originally from Brazil, not Portugal, but that's fine. We speak Portuguese
You're
in
right.
Brazil.
You're
I
right.
know you know that. You just got
Yes.
confused.
Yes.
All right. What I'm grateful for today is technology, because look at us. I'm in Australia, you're in
Yeah.
the United States, and we're talking live, and people can go on LinkedIn and on YouTube and send us messages. How wonderful is this?
That's really crazy. And I believe it's about, you are tomorrow, you are on Wednesday. It's about 8:30 a.m., right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is 8:30 a.m. in the morning.
We are
Yes.
still on Tuesday, and it's only about 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Pretty crazy. I remember I told you I went to Australia. I think it was 2009. I remember Michael Jackson. I just died. But anyway, I spent about a month there. When I came back, it took me 2 to 3 days to get back into my regular sleeping cycle. I would be sleeping in the afternoon at work. It was crazy. I should have taken 2 or 3 days off when I came back. But it's really the land down under. That's for sure. And also, I'm a little bit curious. I believe Brazil is the only country in South America that speaks Portuguese. Everybody else is Spanish, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Everybody else is
what-
Spanish. Yes, you're right.
pretty amazing. Always learning something new. So, can you let us know a little bit about your leadership journey? How you got to
Well,
be, what you do?
that's a long one.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s, so it is pretty long. I started working very early in Brazil. I always enjoyed working. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I always enjoyed working busy, and I started very early. I had a fight with my dad, and I needed money because I was in trouble, and I think he reduced my monthly stipend when I was in my teens, and I started babysitting. I started working for a furniture company. I then became very entrepreneurial in making money early on.
Wow.
I went to university, but I dropped out twice, not because I wasn't academic, but just because I was hungry for life and for travel and for, to get my life going. I didn't want to sit and study,
Right.
even though I had been always a great student. I opened up my business in Brazil, and it did quite well. It was a travel agency with an expertise in sending people overseas to study.
Wow.
And I had agreements with hotel management schools in Switzerland. Brazil is a very touristic country, and hotel management was not something that we taught in Brazil. There were not many courses, so people would go to Switzerland to do that program if they could afford.
Wow.
And one day I was visiting the school. I had to go there twice a year with my students. It was a very interesting setup where I had to hand over the students, a very Swiss, kind of thing. A lot of protocol. And I saw one of the agents, the Mexican agent, was a student. And that opened my eye. I'm like, I could go back to study too. Look at this woman. She's back here and she's studying. And I had a chat with her, and she told me, she fell in love with the idea of doing it herself. And I told my husband we should do it. And instead of Switzerland, we moved to Australia, where I also had some connections. I had been an agent for some universities here.
Wow.
And that's how I moved here. And since then, I decided to become quite a good student. I said, this is my last chance to get my degree. And I graduated from the University of Melbourne. I did an honors at Monash, and that's called a master's. It's equivalent to a master's program in the US
Yes.
from Monash University. And since then, I've been working my way up. up
Wow.
until a moment where I decided I wanted to do my own thing again. I think when you have the entrepreneurial streak in you, you always want to go back and do it again, I suppose.
Man, like we said in the introductory history on the video, right? The rest is history. So you've
Yeah.
built a career helping others design the lives they want. What first inspired your passion for career coaching and leadership development?
Busy. My passion started where you live because when I was young, I moved to Los Gatos near.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
My father was very lucky to be one of a few people in Brazil that was asked to go to the Silicon Valley to learn how to develop, telecommunications, um, for the Brazilian government at the time, and we moved to Los Gatos. He worked in Palo Alto. Palo Alto. We couldn't afford to live in Palo Alto. Now I think we couldn't
Yeah.
afford to live in Los Gatos.
Wow.
But he met a mentor of his from Brazil who had been there for a long time. He was older than my dad, and his wife was transitioning from being a corporate professional to being a coach, a career counselor, to be honest. I don't think we had that word career coach at the time.
Hmm.
And she was mesmerizing. Like, I was so, in awe of her. She was a very extroverted person, and she loved talking about what she was learning in her education to become a career counselor. And she did a Myers-Briggs test for me for the first time.
Wow.
And from that point onwards, I decided I wanted to be like her. I didn't know exactly what it was. I was
Mhm.
very young. But since then, I kept that filed up. One day I can be a coach, I can be a career counselor and help people with their careers. I always had that thing of being the one that helps my friends with their issues. First it was issues with education, helping them study, and then issues with profession. Many times people would come and ask me to help them even choose what to wear for a job interview.
Wow.
Yeah, that was way before they knew I wanted to be a coach.
That is pretty amazing. And I've been kind of following your career, you everywhere on YouTube, and your podcast is fantastic. One of your quote, which I mentioned earlier, no one is more responsible for your career than you. That's not motivation, that is reality. You also say often your career is your greatest investment. So what personal turning point taught you that truth?
Yeah, I think I learned it the hard way.
Mm,
And unfortunately, we have this ability as human beings to learn from others. We know this, Martin Seligman and many other psychologists have written extensively about how we can learn actually, good and bad things through education, through generation, through parents and friends. But there are some things that we listen time and time again, we don't pay attention to, and then we get caught in a situation and we're like,
mm,
oh yeah, that's what they meant. Things like not being prepared financially for a career downturn, things like not being prepared emotionally
yes.
for being laid off, or not getting along with your boss or your colleagues, not
Mm,
those things are not taught at school.
true.
And I think I have been lucky in the sense that I am a third generation expat. So my grandfather lived overseas and worked overseas in Washington, D.C.
Mm,
for a decade. My dad and myself, I have seen these men in my family, women, unfortunately, not so much, but these men in my family struggle with their careers, struggling coming back to their home country, or struggling arriving in a country where they didn't speak the language. And all of these things gave me a lot of lived experience from previous generations. My mother is very entrepreneurial because she's
mm.
a piano teacher. And when you're a piano teacher working for yourself, you have to promote yourself. So I learned a lot from them. And then I learned a lot from my own ups and downs in my career. Definitely.
That is really something, and I'm assuming when you were in Brazil, you pretty much knew how to speak English, or at least white English, right? Before going to Australia.
Yes, because I had lived in California for a
Yes.
while, so there was a time when my English was very Californian, and then
Oh, wonderful.
when I went back to Brazil, Mom found this English teacher from England who lived with us
Wow, nice.
because she needed a place to stay, so that was very convenient. So my English all of a sudden became a little bit posh,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
people can't place my accent anymore. They don't know where
Yeah,
my
but
accent is
it
from.
is perfect English. I know when I was in Australia, they do have a pretty heavy accent. It took me a while to understand what they were saying. It's just
Yeah.
amazing how we all speak the same language, but different accent, intonation, and things. So another one of your guiding quote from W.H. Auden, right? If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. How has that philosophy influenced the way you lead and coach executives?
Just hearing you say it makes me emotional. Isn't it
Mm,
funny?
yeah.
There's some things, and Ted Roosevelt's speech
Yes.
about the men in the arena. I
Mhm.
have read that entire speech many times over. I love that speech.
Yes, one of my
Uh,
favorite texts.
Yes, everybody loves it, and those things really makes me emotional, and they make me want to do more for people. They
Mhm.
make me want, and I think they make and Ted Roosevelt, let's talk about that one first. It normalizes hardship, right?
Yes,
And it sort of explains why you're struggling and why, it's important for you not to compare yourself to others and not to
yes,
judge others as well if you're not in the arena with them and all of that.
yes,
Um, and that one, that poem, it just means that I give without asking anything back,
mm,
and that's the whole philosophy of having a podcast where I speak my truth. I speak to an audience, and if they're ready for me, they're ready for me. If they're not, they can move on.
yeah,
I remember receiving early on in
mm,
my podcast an email after I set up my newsletter, and an email saying your podcast is very long. Can you make it shorter?
what?
And I said, look, there are other podcasts that are with great career coaches that are
Yes,
very short.
yes,
Maybe you should try, and I gave some
mhm,
examples. But I said, my ideal audience, they are unemployed, and
yes,
they need to fill up their time with educational things.
mm,
And my
powerful.
podcast is catered for them. They have time to
Yes.
listen to a 45-minute episode.
Wow. That is that is so powerful. Yeah, it is not the critic who counts, not the man
Mm,
who points out how the strong men stumble, or where the doer of deed could have done them better. The
mm,
credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. So
yeah.
powerful, powerful,
Yeah.
powerful. So tell me this. I looked on Amazon, I couldn't find a book by you. You have so much wisdom. Are you working on a book right now?
Look, I have a story to tell you. Just before we came on air, we were talking about Ariana Huffington, and I
Hmm.
said you should find out about her sister Agapi.
That's right.
I did a workshop with Agapi many years ago, organized by I think it was organized by a bank here in Australia, and we spent the day together. It was
Hmm.
um, very impressed by her, and she made me promise to write a book, and
Please,
that was like
please
a
do.
decade ago, and I haven't done it yet.
Please do. You have so much
Yeah,
wisdom.
thank
Just go
you.
through all of your podcasts. There are at least two or three books out of all of the content you create.
I
It's
know, I know.
incredible.
I need to
So
organize it.
because you've worked right in academia, the corporate world, non-profit sectors as well. So what
Yeah.
universal leadership qualities transcend all industries, you think?
Whew. I love to talk about leadership. The organization that you mentioned before, where I worked, is named after an Australian hero,
Hmm.
General Sir John Monash, and have been told. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I have been told I'm probably the biggest female expert on Sir John Monash. There are
Wow.
lots of men who love him and adore him
Hmm.
and have a lot of knowledge about his military career. But I am fascinated by him more holistically. He was
Yes.
a polymath. He studied so much, like a lot of men of that generation, without um, linearity in their careers. I think that
Yes.
willingness to learn and pivot when things are not doing well
Mm-hmm.
is something that can transcend. And it doesn't necessarily need to have a name. I think when I'm
Yes.
practicing with my clients and they're, what's your leadership style is such a common question for executives and senior professionals when they go for jobs.
Yes.
Um, and they tend to want to talk very academically about this. Oh, I'm a servant leader. Are you?
Yes.
You know, have you studied servant leadership? What books have you read? How do you, explain servant leadership to your teams? Instead
Yes.
of going in that direction, I'd probably go sort of more grassroots and
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, what are the empathetic and the best ways to develop yourself as a
Yes.
leader as you progress in your career, and
Mm.
letting go of the things that as a more senior leader you don't need to know anymore. you
Yes.
know
Mm.
when we are going up and up in our careers, we have to let go a lot, and that can be
Yes.
quite difficult.
True. And there are so many changes. And earlier, you also mentioned a lot of people being laid off, and we have AI taking over every industry. So, how do you define purposeful leadership in today's world of constant change and great disruption?
Yeah, I have clients of many ages. So my clients are usually in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Very rarely I get a client in their 30s.
Mm.
When I do, they have to be very mature to kind of think about their careers in the way that I want them to think, which is the tail end. Let's go all the way to the end and then come back. It's
Yes.
it's becoming harder and harder to see the tail end of our careers. Even Can you even imagine how 2030 will look like? I find it really hard myself to think, how is 2030 going to look like
Mm.
with all this technology and all of the momentum that we are getting, that's
Yes.
changing everything that we do so rapidly. Doesn't really matter what age you are. It's your ability to embrace
Mm.
this with optimism and realism, and
Yes.
not so much pessimism, right?
Mm.
Because you will have to upskill much more and relearn things much more often than you did 10 years ago.
True.
And if you're not prepared for that, then consider changing professions.
Mm.
Today, if you don't like what you do, it's probably better for you to think, what other careers can you have in your lifetime?
Yes.
If you're not happy with the career that you have chosen, maybe you romanticized it early on. Maybe it was your parents' choice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe it was a choice that was led by other factors and not your inner
Yes.
purpose, your inner beliefs. Maybe now is the time for you to consider what to do. I'll give you an example. If you really liked physiotherapy, but you ended up doing a business degree, go back to physiotherapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say this because
Follow
chances
your path.
are AI is not going to take that job away from you as
Mm-hmm.
easily as a business job. So,
Yes.
if business is not your passion, if you're not interested in AI, and if you're not sort of convinced that that is your path in life, I strongly believe that if you're going to be
Yes.
working for 4 decades, you might as well do what you like to do.
Mm. That is quite insightful, because you've also said that no, career success is not linear, and I guess that's been true in my own career too. It's a journey of self-awareness, and how can professionals recover from setback or plateau in their career? And especially now, so many people are being laid off, and some of them have lost their confidence. What do you coach them to do when that happens?
Mm. I think if you're in a tough situation right now and there is a setback in your career, welcome to the world of being employed and
Yes.
being alive. There's just no way that we can have decades and decades of work and not have setbacks. It's just
Mhm.
impossible. And I think that that's the hard lesson that I have learned, even though I've watched setbacks happen to my colleagues and like I said, my dad and my grandfather and so forth. And I'm like, okay, I should have I should have known this was coming at
Mm,
some point. And it's funny because now I tell my kids, I have my sons are both in their late 20s, early 30s. And I said, look, things are going very well for you. It's not always going to
yes.
be like this. I just wanted you to know, having a
Mm,
safety net, having some savings, and giving yourself permission to feel human and to understand that there will be a grieving process,
mhm.
because our hardware, our brain is wired in a certain way that doesn't differentiate, for example, death in the family or losing a job. The
Mm,
pathway in the brain to grieve that is very similar,
yes.
right? It's not going to be as
Mm,
upsetting, of course, but it's still a similar pathway in the brain, and it
wow.
will require you time to recover from it.
Man, I've never thought of it that way. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, your podcast, it's listened in over 100 countries, ranked in the top 2% globally. What do you think resonate with most of your audience?
I think the name of my show is pretty compelling. It's the
Yes.
job hunting podcast. So,
Mhm.
if you're, browsing and looking for something to listen to when you're looking for a job, when you left your job, when you hate your job, you're going to see that and you're going to think, yeah, I should
Mm,
listen to this.
yeah, definitely. And also, no,
Yeah.
you've built a powerful online presence. And by the way, you are a LinkedIn top voice. Congratulations. How can
Yeah.
leaders leverage content creation and visibility without feeling like self promotional? And
Oh my God.
also, if you can add, do you actually know why you were selected as a top voice on LinkedIn? Some people do. Most people I've talked to, they have no idea. But anyway,
Um, I don't know. I think it's the consistency
mm,
of the content that I do and the originality of the content as well that makes you
yes,
a top voice, I guess,
yeah,
I of course I'm influenced by psychology, organizational behaviors, social
mm,
scientists, leadership researchers. I read a lot and I pay attention and I listen to
yes,
others and I come up with my original content. Surprisingly to some, I don't really follow other coaches much
hmm,
because I find that I've been doing this throughout my career in terms of developing my own framework, and I don't want to be
yes,
influenced by other coaches. It's quite bizarre.
yes,
So I tend to avoid listening to other podcasts or people like me, but I think that makes my content more original. I'm a big fan of content on LinkedIn. I see as
mhm,
my mission, especially in 2025, is to convince more people to activate their LinkedIn profiles through creation of articles or newsletters if they enjoy
mm,
writing more, or at least commenting with authenticity, not with ChatGPT
yes,
um, content on other people's posts. And I say this because we have less opportunities these days to connect in real life with each
mhm,
other. A lot of people are working in hybrid environments. And I think that the street central, the place where people meet now is on LinkedIn.
yes,
And definitely it is the place where recruiters and headhunters will be looking for candidates when they have clients that they want to sign up for specific roles. They will be searching for people like you. And if your content and your profile is top notch, of course, you're going to rise to the top of their
yes.
search.
Wow, thank you so much. We are now going to get to the second half of the show where I focus more on leadership. So, generally speaking, what do you think is the greatest lesson you have ever learned just about life?
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot here, busy. I don't know that it is the greatest lesson that I have ever learned,
Well,
but I think the lesson is to be patient
mm,
and to understand that your timeline for, let's say, getting a job, it does not necessarily meet the timeline that a person like you is needed in
mhm,
a job, right? So, I always tell my clients we have this optimism bias where we think things are going to be much easier than they actually will be. And that serves us well in surviving in the savannah and so forth.
Yes.
But right now, it makes us go under budget when we're planning a renovation,
Mm,
and to think that, our job search is going to last a month when it may last 6
yes.
months, and these things are hard to convey at the beginning of the process. So I think it's an important lesson so that we understand that. Can I say a second one too? Do you
Please.
mind?
Mhm.
I think the second one is this idea that you have already invested so much. Oh, Renata, how can I abandon
Mm,
being in the business world? I have already invested so much in it. The
yeah.
sunk cost mentality, right?
Yeah.
And you think, well, you know what? You are going to continue to invest in something you don't like, or
Mm,
are you going to go to this event just because you paid for it, but you could have been doing something else with your
yeah.
time that's better for you, more purposeful for you? So you need to sort of always reevaluate where you're investing your time and money and your career.
That is very, very, very powerful.
Mm.
What do you think is the secret to your success? You've had such an excellent, outstanding career.
It's that I'm not successful at all. I think you're overplaying this.
Really?
Yes, I think you're overplaying this. I think it's what you see, of course. Even though through my podcast, I kind of show, from time to time the times that I failed, and the things that I did wrong, or the things that I did that didn't work, or the times where I struggled. I, you know, could not have done 300 episodes if I only showed every good thing that happened in my
Mm,
career. But if you're just skimming at the surface of my LinkedIn profile, I suppose you would think, "Oh, she's very successful." No, I've struggled a lot. I didn't do well. I not always was a good manager. I'm like a normal person. I'm like you. I'm like everybody who is listening. I'm like everybody else.
So,
But I just like to consistently learn and continuously improve, right? So
mm,
if you know you have done something that you could have done better,
yes.
stop, reflect, and see how you can improve it for next time.
So I guess that really builds that resilience. I guess that really shows through all of the, I guess more than 300 episodes you have now on your podcast, and all of the content you generate on LinkedIn. It's very inspiring. So what do you think is the best or the greatest leadership advice you have received so far?
The best leadership advice I
Hmm.
have received so far? Okay. Um, this is an interesting one. When I was CEO of the foundation, my chair told me something that I always tell my clients. When you're managing up, never present one option to, let's say, the board or to your manager. Give that manager or give that board a couple of options and generate ideas with them, right? Nobody wants at the level above you to have you telling them what to do. What they want is to have a conversation with you and have options and
Wow.
present them 2 or 3 options that you can live with. So if
Mhm.
they decide to go for strategy A and not strategy B, you're going to be okay implementing that strategy for them,
Wow.
right?
That's powerful.
So I think that has really, that was a moment of struggle for me, when
Mm,
I felt like I had to come ready for a meeting with all the answers to all of the problems. And she said, "No, you don't. We are here to help you."
yes.
Right? "Come to us with a couple of options so
Yeah.
we can workshop how to do this." And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay. That's
That
good."
is that is very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, as a leader, what are you learning right now?
What am I learning right now? AI. AI.
Yes. Yeah.
Artificial intelligence for sure. And teaching my clients as well. So everything I do for my clients using artificial intelligence, I share with them
Hmm.
to give them the prompts, to give them the instructions so that they can replicate things for themselves. But also thinking about it from the perspective of how that um, new technology and new technological advancements will shape change the careers of my clients so
Yes.
that they can be prepared for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because artificial intelligence, I guess, it's really changing the job market, isn't it, for both the employers and the potential employees too. And
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So yesterday, for example, I was helping a client and she's in human resources and organizational development is her expertise. And she was coming to me to do a consultation to prep for an important interview that she has this week. And I said, look, I think if you want to impress, it will be good for you in your sector to think about organizational development and professional learning and advancement for your leaders to know how to manage teams that are hybrid in the
Mhm.
sense of partly human and partly AI,
Yes.
right? Or teams that are AI only.
Mhm.
This is the future. If you're going to be a leader, you need to know how to manage teams that are going to be integrated with artificial intelligence or teams that are fully AI
Wow.
driven. And she hadn't thought of that. And I said, well, that's homework for
And
you.
yeah, what world we live in. So you mentioned that earlier. This is where I dig deep just a little bit about failure. I love this one of my CEO gave it to me. One side says success, the other side says failure. So success, failure is two sides of the same coin. But it's true when we look at your website, your LinkedIn profile, all of your words, you've got top voice and all of this. We have a certain idea, of what your life is like and all of the successes you've had. But the truth is, many times, right, you won't get to success unless you go through failure. Sometimes more failure than
Of
success.
course.
So,
Yeah.
how has failure shaped your life?
Um, It gave me permission to fail, I suppose. It gave me permission. I think the failure can have two effects on people. And
Mhm.
I worry about this a lot because, of course, my clients are looking for work. And when
Yes.
you are in the process of looking for work, there is way more failure than success.
Mm.
Way more failure. If you think about a job advertised on LinkedIn right now, in 5 minutes, that job will have 100 people
Wow.
applying for it and only one person will get that job,
Mm.
right? And you will go through lots of rounds of that,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be prepared for a few months or even longer at a time in your life where it is completely an unnatural situation.
Mm.
We don't like this. Our human brain doesn't like lots of negatives and
Yes.
just one or two positives along the way, right? We
Mhm.
like the opposite. We like lots of positive reinforcements and not so many negative reinforcements. So that resiliency that you mentioned before, that grit to persevere is important because one of two things can happen with a job seeker. Either they will spiral down from the negative results of their job search, or
Mm.
they will spiral up.
Yes.
If every time they get that sample gets bigger, they learn from that sample.
Mm.
Right? So I was talking to a client last night, and he hasn't been successful in his search right at the beginning of that search. So when he's applying for jobs. So that is the bottleneck, and we looked at his cover letter, we looked at his LinkedIn, we looked at his resume, and also we spoke about what is it that he's saying
Mhm.
when he talks to people, right? To try to find what's the bottleneck at that beginning of the process.
Yes.
The funny thing that happened was while we were having a conversation, he received a message inviting him for an interview. And I'm like, whoops,
Wow.
okay.
That
So
is
that's
so
that's
true.
good. So we have sometimes to pay attention to the sample size.
Mhm.
If somebody has been saying to me, "Oh, I never get an interview," I'm like, "How many jobs have you applied for?" "Oh, 2." Well, that's not a
Yes.
big sample size. But
Yes.
if you have been applying for 100 jobs and you haven't got a single job interview, that worries me because the
Mhm.
problem. I mean, of course, there's a lot of competition, busy. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but there's definitely a problem in that bottleneck. It's the application that we need to review. The LinkedIn profile we need to review to make sure that
Yes.
everything is aligned.
And also, if anybody watching right now wanted to hire you as a coach, they can just reach out to you on LinkedIn and your website, right?
Yeah, or they can just buy a little course that I have called Reset Your Career,
Hmm.
because sometimes when I'm having conversations with people, the issues are very similar, busy, like they
Yes.
are always asking very similar questions, and Reset Your Career is a great way of making sure it's like a checklist. Okay,
Mhm.
masterclass 1, I can do that. I understand
Yes.
all of that. Oh, masterclass 2, okay, I didn't know half of that.
Mm.
Masterclass 3, oh, okay, I haven't done anything that she mentioned.
Yes.
So instead of, working with me first, why not do the course first to find out what are the
Yes.
gaps in your strategy?
Hmm.
And then if you have big gaps, then think, oh, okay, let me work with Renata too.
Very good.
That's the gap. Yeah.
And for your masterclass, I need to go to renatabernarde.com, right?
Yeah, I have
That's
lots
it.
of different services there, and people can
Very good.
figure out for themselves or ask me a
Right.
question if they don't understand it.
Thank you so much, because I think what you do is very, very important. Another reason why I really wanted to talk with you today. So, who are some of the people you follow, some of your mentors, people you know that we should know?
Well, I don't know. Let me just think. I follow a lot of, recruiters and
Mhm.
people that do work on LinkedIn, to understand, but I don't think that professionals should follow them. I
Yes.
think I mentioned this to you
Mhm.
before, that I think it's important for each individual to find out who the top voices are in their area of expertise,
Yes.
right? So if you are in marketing or accounting or finance or technology, who are the top voices for your area of expertise?
Mm.
Follow them, connect with them, comment under their posts, read their books.
Yes.
Um, I find that this is really important for you to surround yourself with experts in your area of expertise.
Powerful.
This is really important.
Absolutely. And if you could choose three people to have dinner with, who would you choose and why? They could be
That
alive, dead, or mythical
Dead
figures.
or alive?
Hmm.
Okay, oh gosh. Um, Ella Fitzgerald,
Hmm. Why?
Alexander, well,
Why? Sorry.
she's my favorite. I mean, she's amazing. I love her
Yes.
voice. I would want to know all the gossip of that
Hmm.
time in the world, and all the
Yes.
things she went through, and how everything. I just wanted to sing
That's
with her, do
very
a
good.
karaoke session. Um, I wanted
Two more.
to have a dinner with Cleopatra.
Hmm.
Yeah, and say and find out again all the gossip,
Yes.
everything, being a woman in that time,
And one
and
more.
Genghis Khan,
Oh,
like somebody really weird and
yes.
kind of perceived as evil, but what was he trying to do?
Mm,
You know, what was
yes.
he trying to achieve, in his pursuits? I just sort
That's
of
a
sometimes.
little different. Now, for the
Yeah.
books you recommend to my audience, you sent me the list before. One of them, The Sleep Revolution by Ariana Huffington.
Mm.
Why do you recommend this one?
Because I have always been a terrible sleeper and an overthinker, and
Yes.
I had a business when I was raising my kids. I moved to Australia and went to study when my kids were little, and then
Mm,
studied and worked part-time. I just never slept. I feel like
yes.
I spent decades without sleeping, and this book
Mm,
really made me worried about what
powerful.
I thought. Yeah, and I'm a Generation X, and
Yes.
raised in the 90s,
Mhm.
sleeping less was actually um, a cool
Yeah,
thing, and now I don't see that as being cool at all. I see it as dangerous,
absolutely.
thanks to that book. Yeah.
And do the work.
Oh, I just love it's a very thin book. It's like an essay,
Hmm.
and many times I recommend this to clients that have paralysis by analysis. They're
Mm,
overthinking everything, and
yes.
they don't move forward with their projects, and I find that this book really helps get them started.
Absolutely. Actually, one thing about the author, Stephen Pressfield, this is the best book I've ever read from him, Gates of Fire. Uh,
Really?
the reason why I love this is because the way it describes leadership, I think it's the best definition. We talked about servant leadership earlier, but anyway, just really quickly, it says, I will tell His Majesty what a king is. A king does not abide within his tent while his men bleed and die upon the field. A king does not dine while his men go hungry, nor sleep when they stand at watch upon the wall. A king does not command his men's loyalty through fear, nor purchase it with gold. He earns their love by the sweat of his own back, and the pains he endures for their sake. I mean, if this is not servant leadership, I don't know what servant leadership is, especially
Amazing.
in the military. I mean, that's really what's really built into us. I remember when I joined the Navy 21 years ago, I was an E1, lowest rank in the military, seaman recruit. Today, I am a commander, a senior officer, and I had the chance and the opportunity to command. When you're commanding officer, especially in the Navy, different from the other branches, it's like command by negation. You don't have someone watching behind your back. You are the top person. There's pretty much no one above you. You make all of the decision for the unit, for the mission and everything. And if you don't love your people, if you really don't serve them, and you think you have the boss, I think it's a big, big, big mistake. But anyway,
Wonderful. Thanks for your service, Busy, by the way.
yeah, I really like Stephen Prince. So I am definitely going to purchase this book. Do the work.
Oh, dude. And the thing about Stephen Pressfield that I really like as well is that his career picked up later in life,
True.
and has no linearity to it. And he has written different types of books. And in order to do that, he had jobs that were completely, like I think he was a truck driver or something. So I like that about him.
It's
People
amazing.
that reinvent their careers and just focus on their purpose. Yeah.
What about firing back?
Well, I have given this book to quite a few people because I think it's totally, normal to, from time to time, make career limiting moves, burn bridges. One of the things that I enjoy the most about my work is when a client comes to me with really badly burnt bridges that we need to rebuild. I find that as a coach, I find that exciting, and that PR strategy and reputational work that we need to do. I've been very influenced by this book in how to do that, and that's why I like it so much. Yeah.
And one more, the no a or.
Yes, I know. Better not say the word. I think it's fantastic. I have several others that are much hardcore than this. This has, kind of a playful tone to it, but it has a chapter for each type of difficult person that you will find in your job. One of them could be yourself. I think that from time to time, there will be days that we are not doing so well, and we will regret it later, all the way to people that can be real sociopaths and be there really disrupting and upsetting the workplace. So it's important to understand a little bit of sociology and psychology in order to operate as team members and as leaders.
That's really powerful. One reason why I like your work, because I believe your peace of mind is very important. It's, in my opinion, more important than whatever amount of money you make when you work in a toxic place with a lot of jerks or a-hole, or that's just not worth it. Life is very short, especially after the global pandemic, which I think will define our generation. I think two things, right? 9/11 for those who are in the US, actually around the world, but also the global pandemic of 2020. That completely changed everything for me. But anyway, so what is a song or a book or a movie that would be your life's theme or anthem?
A song or a book or a movie. Oh my gosh. I don't know that it will be my life's theme, but I've always the thing that I enjoy the most things that I've always enjoyed the most is science fiction, and my favorite movie and soundtrack forever and ever has been Blade Runner.
Oh, wonderful.
And very recently, and a few years ago, during the pandemic, I fell in love with The Expanse. And I think we were talking about AI before, and I think watching The Expanse is sometimes homework for some of my clients who are worried about it. And I love science fiction. I sometimes feel sad that we are not there yet.
Well,
Because
but it looks like
well,
we are getting there pretty quickly. Everything that was
yeah,
science
yeah,
fiction a few years ago is becoming reality before our eyes. It's
yeah,
incredible the time we live in.
yeah.
So, what is one problem when you wake up in the morning? If you had like a magic wand, which one problem would you like to solve?
Poverty,
Hmm.
hunger.
Yeah.
And not poverty, because I think hunger. Hunger is a
Yes.
problem that I feel, um, it's how can we have not solved that yet? Lots of things
Yes.
make me angry in the morning.
Mhm.
The women's
Yeah.
issues, upset me a lot,
Yes.
domestic violence,
Mm.
all of these things make me really
Yes.
upset. But if I had to choose one, it would be hunger. Yeah.
Yes. And that is so true. And for me, kind of similar to that is I don't understand. I live in Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area, one of
Yeah.
the wealthiest zip codes in the
I know.
world. But we have homeless people here. People don't have a house to live in. Can you believe that? Like you go
I
to San
can, because
Francisco, it's crazy.
I used to go to San Francisco very often for work, and I was there
Yeah,
just before the pandemic hit, the year before, I think I was, and that was my last time.
that's not
And
right.
I
All of the smart
No,
people we have here, all of the billionaires we have here, how in the world can we still have people who are homeless?
yeah.
And that just doesn't make
It
any
makes me
sense.
really sad, makes me really sad. California is one of my favorite places in the world. I love California. If I
Hmm.
could choose to live somewhere, I would love to live there, except for the fact that dichotomy in society there is just
Yes.
so which is something I see in my home country as well a lot.
Mm,
Let me just say this, that, we
yes.
see that in Brazil a lot. Mm.
Well, and by the way, we have Ellen Palmer on LinkedIn. She says she loved the TV show The Expanse. So I'm gonna watch it myself. And also Elizabeth Lotado. She is a #1 best-selling author. I interviewed her last week. She says great insight. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Please let me know if you have a question for Coach Renata. Type it in the comment. I'm gonna make sure to ask her. And also let us know where you are watching from, what city, what state, and which country, if you're from Australia or anywhere in the world. I believe I invited everybody I knew from Australia for this show. So some of
Well,
your people may be watching us live, Coach Renata. Thank you so much. And I really love doing this thing live because my wife does podcasting too, but she does all of hers offline, and she takes us 2 weeks to perfect everything. But
oh,
I am not perfect, but I try to be excellent. But I really love the feedback and the conversation. So
sure.
another question for you then.
Mm.
If you had one day and only one day to live, what would you have liked your final contribution to be?
Um, I think if I had one day to live, it would be with my family. And my contribution would be just to, show as much love and affection to them as I can. I feel like
Yes.
I'm very comfortable with the fact that the work that I do is purposeful. I'm very lucky that I feel like I have touched a lot of people with the
Mhm.
work that I do, and that I have helped people,
Yes.
with their careers to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
I'm not, in any way the most perfect coach or anything like that, but I have dedicated so much of
Mhm.
my time and energy to finding ways to make job seeking and career planning easier for everybody.
Yes.
If I had one more day I would just be grateful for that. The
Wow.
fact that I found that path and that I connected with amazing people. I mean, I know Helen and I know
Wow.
Elizabeth, and wonderful people, and they
Yes.
have certainly influenced the work that I do, both of them.
Yes.
Um, as will you, now that we have connected, and I find that is, something to be grateful
Mhm.
for in that last day.
That is really, really powerful. So we only have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to try to land this plan down quickly. But before I do, how can we add value back to you? So grateful, Coach Renata, for coming to this show and talking to my audience. And how can we add value back to you?
Oh gosh, listen to my podcast, and when you do, if I mean, not a lot of people watch it on YouTube, but if you're there, give it a like, comment if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which is what
Mhm.
most people do. even though I don't know why I spend so much time with the video, busy, because
Yeah.
90% of my listeners listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So
Well, you do
give
the
a
YouTube
review.
for me.
Yeah,
I like to watch instead
you
of listening.
do? Yeah, me
Keep
too. I
doing
do
it.
too. Look, I think if you can give that back, I think for people like you and me, busy, myself, we do those things and we don't expect anything in return. But when you press a like or when you leave a comment, what you're doing is helping that platform show it to more people.
Mm,
And that's what we want. We want more people to
yes.
be able to watch and see it. And if you need help, and if the information that I'm giving to you via my LinkedIn content or my podcast is not enough to get you a job, and if you can invest in yourself, work with me. I'd love to work with you. And I find that people that come to me after listening to my podcast, they come all warmed up. I don't,
Yes.
they know they're ready to be coached, and it's a pleasure
That's
working with
powerful.
them. Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Please follow Coach Renata Bernarde on LinkedIn. She's a top voice, and her website, renatabernarde.com. I think if they go to your website, they can have access to everything: your
To
podcast,
everything,
YouTube channel, all of your classes. Wonderful.
even
So,
my TikTok,
oh,
everything.
you do TikTok too. Good. I've been trying to do TikTok because of my daughter. So
Yeah,
they're both Gen Z. They've been teaching me a lot about Gen Z, how they think, and how
yeah.
to motivate them. Because from us Gen X's, Gen Z is very different. We're not the same kind of people. But anyway,
There's
uh,
some amazing boomers and Gen X's on TikTok that I
yes,
follow. But when
true.
I'm there, I'm just having fun. I don't want to talk
So
about,
true. Yeah,
I'm there
it's
as a
incredible.
coach, but when I'm watching, I'm usually looking for cats and
Yes.
birds and people telling funny stories.
Actually, next week, I'm going to have an expert, Dr. Tim Elmore, is going to be talking to us about the future
Mm,
begins with Z. Of course, he means Gen Z, but I think Z is Zynga. But anyway, we need to learn more about Gen Z, how to motivate them
yeah,
and work with them because they are our future leaders. But anyway,
yeah.
both of my daughter, they really teach me how to love them, understand them, and work with them. So, the most important question of the podcast before we end is if you could go back and give a piece of advice to your 17-year-old self standing at the edge of this incredible career you've had, I think extremely successful, what would you say to 17-year-old Renata?
Nothing. I would say nothing.
Really?
Because I'm so happy where I am right now that I don't wanna say anything that would take her off track.
Wow. Okay, that's the first time I've ever heard it. I've asked this question to
Really?
hundreds of people, but okay, very good.
No,
Thank you.
I wouldn't say anything. I would say, "Look at me, you're gonna be fine. Just keep
Okay, you're
doing
gonna
what
be
you're
fine.
doing."
Okay, okay. I like that. Uh,
Yeah.
and part of the reason why it's a little bit selfish. No, part of what I'm doing is really for the next generation, especially people who are going to be leading in high tech and in the military. But it's also for myself because when I was 17 years old is when I came to this country, to the US, and I had all
Yeah.
of this big dream, but I had no idea how to go from point A to point B. And I wish somebody would have told me what to do or which direction to take. So that's why I say it's the most important question of the podcast because it's important.
Oh gosh, and I think I
So
didn't do a good job then.
no, no,
Sorry,
no,
BC.
you did. You are gonna be fine. I think that is so true because
Okay.
you go through a lot of difficult time and hardship and challenges, but knowing that on the other end of all of that, you're gonna be
Yeah.
just fine. That's so powerful. Okay, the last 2 minutes we have really quickly. Don't take too long to think. Oh, actually, before I do that, is there a question I should have asked you that I didn't ask yet?
No, no, no. I think you've asked great questions. Thank you so
All right.
much.
So this is going to be
Keep
rapid fire. Okay. Think really quickly.
okay.
All right. One word that defines great leadership. One word.
Learning.
Okay. Morning routine or practice that keeps you grounded.
Um, Reading.
Okay. One book or quote that changed your life.
The Men in the Arena quote
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who inspire you the most today?
My kids, my boys,
Okay.
yeah.
Finish the sentence. Leadership is.
Is a continuous learning loop. You're
Wow.
always learning, you have to always be improving.
Okay. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
An astronaut.
Okay, you are not an astronaut today, but wow, that's amazing. Okay, 3 adjectives describing you as a child.
Studious, serious, nerdy.
And as an adult?
Weird. Lots of ideas in her head. Loving.
Okay. And this is the very last question, and we are done right on time. What is one word that represents our shared experience on this podcast today?
Fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Thank
good.
I
Thank
am
you.
grateful. I am usually grateful when I have a guest because you took the time to speak to me and my audience, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much. And hopefully, many people watching who need help are going to be reaching out to you, at least getting into all of your material classes and listening to your podcast. I listen to it. It's one of the best in the world for sure. And thank you again. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
All right.
everybody. Bye.
All right. All right, everyone, that was Coach Renata, and thank you so much for being with us today. I am going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, right? And I'm going to have 2 guests tomorrow. In the morning for the episode 101, I'm going to have Coach Valerie Martinelli. She's a LinkedIn top voice career coach as well. I'm going to be talking about leadership and career transformation. And then on the same day in the afternoon, I'm going to be talking to the one and only Commander Amy Forsyth, U.S. Navy retired, and she used to be a senior enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps. So that's going to be really, really, really fun. And she's written a book I believe everybody needs to read and have, but we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Heroes live here. So that's it. I don't see any other question on LinkedIn or YouTube. So until tomorrow, thanks so much for being with us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. This is Coach Busy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.